We need to look through their histories, their pedigrees, all the testing results that we've had in the past, perhaps retest.
Those bad bolts on the new Bay Bridge. KPIX5 has learned new numbers pointing to a much bigger headache for Caltrans. Good evening, I'm Alan Martin.
And I'm Elizabeth Cook. The major players charged with coming up with a fix for those bad bolts on the new Bay Bridge met today in Sacramento. The idea? To get all parties to sign off a solution. But we've learned it's not just a few dozen brittle bolts worrying Caltrans. KPIX5's Phil Matier tells us the number is much larger. Phil?
That's right. The question is, what shape are the bolts in? Big ones and the small ones on this massive structure here. And as the more they look, the more questions seem to be coming up. Here's the story. The problem started when 32 of the bridge's anchor bolts snapped when they were being tightened. Then it grew as questions were raised about the long-term strength of another 192 similar bolts along the span. Now there are concerns that up to 2,400 smaller bolts along the new $6 billion bridge span could have problems as well.
We have done a visual inspection of similar rods elsewhere on the span. They have not shown any signs of problems.
But that's not good enough. We need to look through their histories, their pedigrees, all the testing results that we've had in the past, perhaps retest some of the ones if we suspect any of them before we give the all-clear signal.
As for how long that might take is anyone's guess.
Right now, to talk about that would be sheer speculation.
We're also learning that fixing the problem of the initial 32 snap bolts will likely cost way over the initial $1 million estimate so far. Not good news for a bridge already billions over budget and hoping to open by Labor Day. And now questions are also being raised as to whether the state agency building the bridge followed their own specifications when they bought the faulty bolts. Did we buy the wrong bolts for this type of structure?
Looking back from today and looking back with hindsight, I think looking at different sorts of fasteners in some of these applications might have made sense. There are other kinds of fasteners that are a little bit sturdier when it comes to this problem. And so I think it is a fair question to ask.
Should we have possibly bought other bolts or fasteners?
Possibly. Standards have changed since these rods were selected. We went with the manuals that were available at the time. But again, there is a report coming out very shortly.
And they hope to have that report out later this month when they're going to have to make a call as to whether they can get the fixes done and get the bridge open. But the bolt problem, I want to emphasize also, this isn't just big ones. We're talking about small ones as well. But once the question was raised, MTC, which is overseeing this span, has decided to take a look at everything to make sure that it's going as well as they can.